today I'm sharing my top recommendations for business books that helped me generate over $50 million in client marketing revenue and grow a successful consulting practice. As you grow in business, you'll find that you develop niche problems that require increasingly nuanced solutions. And a lot of those books have been even more valuable than the ones I'm going to share with you today. But that being said, I wanted this list that I'm sharing with you to be as applicable as possible for those looking to hit 7 figures in their business. The first book I recommend is $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi. In this book, Alex talks about all of the key components going into what makes a killer offer. And an offer is simply how you communicate the value of your products or services to anybody who is interested in them. And while a lot of the ideas that he presents here aren't necessarily new, the way he puts it together in this book makes it very straightforward for you to go and then create your own compelling offer. The second book that really transformed my business growth is Positioning by Al Ries. In this book, Al talks about how you can position your product or your offer to stand out among the crowd. And he specifically talks about if you have multiple product offerings, how to navigate that, and why terms like number one or the best really haven't made sense for brands to use as a point of differentiation since the Mad Men era. So if you are somebody who has a lot of competitors or are in a really tight marketplace, I highly recommend this book because it talks about some of the ways that you can be number one in your prospects' minds for your product or service. I read this book this year, and honestly, I wish I would have read it way before that. The next book I don't have a physical copy of. It's on my Kindle, and you can see my Kindle has a low battery. So I'll put a little image of it right here, but it's $1 Million Weekend by Noah Kagan. $1 Million Weekend I read this year. Even though I was well into my consulting business, I found it to be a very worthwhile read. And Noah goes through the entire process of finding product market fit. Essentially, will people respond to your product or not? And this is valuable for anybody who is just starting out in business, but also if you're planning to launch something new, you can use Noah Kagan's $1 Million Weekend formula to see if this is something that people will willingly pay for. And his framework has been so helpful for me when I introduce new product or service offerings, just to make sure that I'm putting my limited bandwidth in the right places. Up next is Building a Second Brain by Tiago Forte. It is no secret that I love a second brain system. I even have an entire video walking through my second brain setup, which I will link in the cards. In this book, Tiago really walks through all of the components of a successful second brain system, how to organize it, where the concept even comes from, and the value of creating a second brain in the digital world. I personally cannot live without my second brain. I do everything within it, and it has been so helpful in saving time and energy when I am starting new projects, because I'm never starting from scratch. I'm always starting from a template or some other resource that I've already gotten in my second brain. I read this book a few years ago. He also has another book called The Para Method, which he touches on briefly in this book. But if you love this book and you're setting up your own second brain, then his Para Method book is a great complimentary read if you enjoy this one. The next book I also have on Kindle is They Ask, You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. This book is all about how you can optimize your website for search. I find that when I speak with a lot of business owners, search engine optimization and blogging for SEO are two concepts that can become very technical, and Marcus really strips away all of the technicality behind increasing your visibility on search with a really straightforward answer. And the whole concept of the book is really making sure you're taking the time to answer the questions that your prospects have during their buyer journey, because the more that you can provide content and information to answer those questions, the more likely you are to show up in search. People are finding your articles and they're spending a lot of time on your website, which is a great indicator of the quality of your content. And so if you are somebody who is looking to bring that SEO or blogging element into your marketing strategy, I highly recommend reading this book first. Now, this next recommendation may seem kind of niche, but I want you to hear me out because I think this is applicable not only to consultants, but anybody who is a service provider online. And they are two books. One is on Kindle, the other I have here, but it's $1 Million Consulting and $1 Million Consulting Proposals by Al Weiss. Al is somebody who has built an entire career from being a consultant, and now he helps other consultants also build their own consulting careers. And one of the things he talks about is value-based pricing. With value-based pricing, you price your services based on the value that they provide to someone, not based on an hourly estimate. And when you price your services this way, it's really a win-win because you're incentivized to do high-quality work as quickly as it can be completed, meaning your client gets wins more quickly than if they have you on an hourly or a monthly retainer. Essentially, you are the expert in your service or your consulting field, and so you're able to bill on the value that you provide to the company instead of the hours that you've spent working on it. His book that I have here, $1 Million Consulting Proposals, essentially takes what he talks about in $1 Million Consulting and goes even deeper, showing how you can format a proposal to send to your clients, and a proposal that essentially acts as a contract as well. Not a lawyer, get your own legal counsel, but I personally love the proposal as the contract concept. I think it's very clean and understanding for clients, and he talks about situations where you might need to go even deeper with legal clauses, but for me, these two books have been really game-changing for my business. Now, this next book isn't business related, but it's related to creating a growth mindset and the different tools available to help you get there. This book is by far the #1 most influential book I've ever read, and it's truly what I attribute all of my growth and mindset improvement to. Before I read this book, I really didn't see a way for my e-commerce business to hit the $5,000 a month goal I had set for it. But after I did, my e-commerce business took off and I was able to pivot into my dream career and then leave that career to consult. And I was able to consult for some of my dream brands that I didn't think I'd ever be able to work with. After reading this book, I've been able to meet so many amazing individuals because I feel so much better about myself, and that comes across in the way that I portray myself both online and in person. And it's one of the main reasons I've been able to grow a successful consulting practice and help my clients improve their business growth. So the #1 most influential book I've ever read is The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. In this book, Jack has over 67 principles that you can use to improve your mindset. And while I don't use all 67, this book has been a reference point for me again and again as I feel myself needing more inspiration and more motivation to just go out there and continue building my business. I've read this book several times. I've highlighted it. I actually have a big binder where I've started hand transcribing the notes that I want to keep from this book along with supplemental resources. I am crazy about this book, and it is something that I will come back to time and time again. Now I want to hear from you. What's the best business book that you've read this year, or maybe your favorite of all time? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.